All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to ATP Live Monday. It's my pleasure to be here today and for us to have this session. Welcome, welcome. ATP Live Monday is brought to you by the Paediatrician's Foundation. Pediatrician Foundation is a non-profit organization, and we're committed to the health and welfare of all children globally, but especially in Nigeria, where our children are still dying from lots of preventable condition. So, thank you so much for joining me. Please, let's invite your friends and family. Thank you so much for those joining on Instagram, uh, Zeramid, and all the rest of you joining us. You're welcome. So we're just going to first share the video and make sure everybody can see and everybody can hear. But if you have any question, you can also start to drop your question, but just give me a couple of minutes to just share the video first, and then we can go ahead. Thank you so much. I hope you've had a lovely Monday. Um, okay, so I'm also just going to share the video. I can see my video. Okay. Okay, so I'm just sharing the video and then we can start. Let me increase my volume. But for those of us who are here already, feel free to drop your questions straight away on the under the platform we are watching from. So if you're watching on Instagram, you can drop it on Instagram, and if you're watching on Facebook page, you can also drop it on your Facebook page straight away. But if you're watching on the link on the group, you may have to for click on the video so that you can actually drop your question directly under the video. Then that is the only way we'll be able to see you. Okay. All right. I think that is okay. Let me just pin the video. So I've shared the videos to our groups, but I just need to pin it in the so that many people can see it as well. Okay, I can't see my video. Okay, let me just share it to the page. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. You're welcome. Okay, thank you. Let's just see. Alright, I think I have the video now. Okay, I don't know why. Okay. Okay, so I've seen what I want to pin. Okay, all right, good. So welcome everyone. I'm just going to pin in the groups. Okay, and then we're good to go. And then so it's okay for now. All right. Okay. Let me just hide this. All right. So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to ATP Live Monday. ATP Live Monday is brought to you by Ask the Pediatricians Foundation. And Ask Pediatrician Foundation, as you're aware, we are committed to the health and welfare of your children globally, and especially in Nigeria. And we do that through health education, health information, online and offline. And so, ATP Live Monday is one of our programs where you get to ask any question that you may have, and then you get your answer straight away from our pediatrician. And so, but remember that even if you have any question, for those of you who may be watching maybe a recording of the program, remember that you can always post your questions on our Facebook groups on Mondays to Saturday. So we are also able to answer your questions on our Facebook group. So even though we are only here for 1 hour, but that does not mean after the 1 hour you cannot ask questions. You can always ask questions even after the live sessions, but you have to go to our Facebook group. We have the ATP Facebook group, and then we also have the ATP Family Facebook group. So there are many opportunities for you to ask your questions. But this Facebook Live, ATP Live Monday, is just for you to, it's just for 60 minutes. So we'll be able to quickly answer any questions that you may have about the health of your children. And remember, you can, whenever you're starting, whenever you want to ask your question, remember to start with the age of the child, and then a brief summary of what your concerns are, and then we can now um, address the questions. So thank you so much for joining us. And if you are watching a recording and you don't have opportunity to ask your question live, feel free to follow listening to the whole live video in case somebody else has asked your question. But if nobody has asked your question still, then please go to our Facebook group and you can ask your questions there, and we'll try our best to answer them as well. So thank you so much, everyone, and welcome to ATP Live Monday. So I have not seen any questions yet, so I'm waiting. Sometimes people tend to ask the questions towards the end, but no worries. Feel free to ask your questions, and I will try my best to answer them as soon as I can as well. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm also just trying to just make sure the groups have the video and it is also properly shared there. Okay, Instagram, feel free to ask your question. Facebook, feel free to ask any questions that you may have. While we're waiting for the questions, I will try and just give us some health tips about our children's issues. We've been talking about immunization, and like I keep saying, immunization, there are many of them. It doesn't necessarily mean that it is all the immunization that the government is giving, and the government is also trying to also add to the immunization that we have. So currently, the government has introduced another immunization, and that is the MRV. That is MR. Like they've added rubella and the measles vaccines together to be given to our children. So and I think it's been rolled out. So try and get that. I know many of us have been waiting for MMR. We have not yet gotten to the MMR. We have not yet gotten the mumps yet, but we have the MR, which is the measles and rubella. So it's available now in our health centers. So you're free to um, go for those immunization, and it will protect our children against measles and also protect them against rubella. So that is one news that we need to add. And I'm sure most of us also are aware of the human papilloma virus vaccine, HPV as well. HPV is also available for children between 9 and 14. So let's also make sure that we take those vaccines. And a lot of parents have asked us questions about things like chickenpox vaccine. You can go get those ones. It's not yet available from the government for free, but if you take the vaccine, if you have the money, you can go take it. But a lot of people ask me about other vaccines that some private hospitals do give, and they wonder whether it is um, are okay for them to take. So things like we don't recommend things like typhoid fever vaccine or flu vaccine for children, or even cholera vaccine. You know, those vaccines are not recommended for children. I know some private hospitals are giving them, just, I don't know why, but we don't recommend them for children. But things like chickenpox vaccine, MMR vaccine, it is okay for you to take those ones if you want to take them. So, but if you have any issues about vaccines, you don't know whether you should take this one or you should not take that one, I mean, feel free to always cross check with us. I would not like for you to go and spend so much thousands, because those vaccines are not cheap. I'm sure most of you who have paid for them now. So I won't want you to go and pay so much thousands for unnecessary vaccines. So feel free to reach out to us and we'll confirm that. But we do have an article on our website about childhood immunizations updates. So there's an update on that. So feel free to read the article as well. Just to set you that virtually all the topics that we've been talking about, they are available on our website. So if you're not sure and you're unable to reach us on social media, feel free to get to our website and you can read, you can get an update about those vaccines as well. Okay. So, welcome everyone. I can see some of you joining us from Facebook, from Instagram. Welcome. Feel free to ask your questions and then we will try and answer them as soon as we can. Another questions we've been getting a lot lately is about colds and coughs and catarrh, and I think it's something seasonal, and a lot of parents want to know what can they do to protect their children, or what can they do when the children have the coughs as well. Some people also ask us about home remedies and stuff like that. Most coughs in children are from viruses. So most of the time they don't require any antibiotics, they don't require drugs. So please, let's make sure we are not loading our children with unnecessary medication. So please try and make sure that if your child has cough, catarrh and all that, please don't go and give them unnecessary antibiotics so that they don't end up developing antibiotic resistance. So feel free to just most of the time it's just about keeping the children warm, helping them to maintain their own immunity and all that. So that's all that we can do. Uh, Fruits, veggies, things like that can be helpful as well. But more importantly, protection or prevention is always key in everything we do. In other words, we want to keep our children away from people who have coughs and colds. I know it's a little bit tricky because children go to school and other children in school, if they are also coughing and having all those infections, and then they sneeze and they cough, and then the children are likely going to catch it from them. So it's also a little bit tricky, but as much as possible, even for us, if we can keep our children at home, that will be helpful when they are sick. It's better to keep sick children at home instead of taking them to school so that they don't infect other people. But most important thing for us to know, most of those viral kind of infection, they are going to go on their own within like 2 weeks. As most of them will disappear. But if the child start having fever alongside a cough, or they start having fast breathing, or they start having difficulties with breathing, that is when we now need to make sure that we take the children to the hospital so that the doctors can treat them properly. Okay, so that is just something I think it would be good for us to be aware of. Okay. Uh, because some children may actually have pneumonia, and pneumonia is very deadly, and so it's very important that the children are taken to the hospital. If in addition to the cough and the colds, they start having fast breathing, they start having uh, difficulty with breathing, and they start having high fever as well. So let's be mindful of that and make sure that we take them to the hospital. But if otherwise it's just a cough and cold, no fever, no fast breathing, we can just let them run the skulls and it will go out. So that's just something to say about the season of cough and colds that we're currently going through. Also, for us, remind us that the malaria vaccine is also being rolled out. A lot of people have asked us where they can get it. Unfortunately, it is not yet available across board. So please, we just need to make sure that we when it's available, we will know. In our health centers, they will offer our children. And just for us to know that the malaria vaccine is not for adults, it's going to be for children. And even for children, it's not going to be all children. I think we are focusing on the age group that is most likely going to die from severe malaria, so our 0 to 5. But I think we're starting with the under one first, and then hopefully maybe with time we can get it out to the older children as well. But that is just the updates as far as health issues and in children are concerned. All right, so I hope everybody's been updated. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask your question. I can't see any question on Instagram. I can't see any question on Facebook. So I just hope Facebook people can see me and hear me. I hope there's nothing happening on Facebook and that is affecting the. Okay, so and for those who are watching on the group, please kindly click on the video and post your questions directly under the video, because I have a feeling some of you, I just saw a comment under the group, but if you put your comments in the group, I won't be able to see it. Unfortunately, I won't be able to see it in the studio. But if you put it in the under the video directly, I'll be able to see it. Okay, Zoe Law say my daughter 3-year-old has been coughing seriously lately. Okay, yeah, I think I just answered the question about cough and catarrh. I don't know whether you were here when I did that. But if coughing about a week ago, 1 week, okay. And when she sleeps, it's as if something is in her throat and she wants to let it out. Okay, so is your child having fever? Is your child having fast breathing? Is your child having difficulties with breathing? If not, most of the time we just give children something to soothe their throats. For a 3-year-old, they can lick honey, they can take warm fluids, drink something warm and all that. It can help loosen the mucus and then make it easier for them to bring it out, and all that. But I'm not quite sure about whether your child is having difficulty breathing, because it said there's something in her throat. So is she mouth breathing? Is she having noisy breathing? Is she breathing fast? So it needs to be very clear what you are really describing about is going on in her throat. If it's just if she's having what look like noisy breathing, or she's mouth breathing, or she's um, you know, um, having any form of difficulty. Okay, if there's no difficulty in breathing, I'll just watch it. I won't do anything. I'll just leave it. Sometimes you may hear a lot of sound because of the mucus, or sometimes they block the airway, and because the air, when the air is coming out of the nose through all those mucus, you hear all sorts of noise. But that does not mean there's anything wrong. As long as the child is not having difficulty with breathing, I will not worry about it. I will just say you can just watch. And like I said, most cough and catarrh within 2 weeks, they should resolve. So you can just watch. So hopefully in another week or so, she should be fine. But like I said, if there's fast breathing, if there's difficulty with breathing, if there is fever, high fever, like 38, 39, then you need to take her to the hospital, and then you can see a pediatrician there. Okay. All right. I don't know. I have a feeling there's something wrong on my Facebook. Okay, so Zoila, I hope I've been able to address your question. If you need any further clarification, feel free to reach out to ask. Okay, and Lorita Moore, thank you for joining us. Is it true that drying clothes in the room cause pneumonia? Drying clothes in the room, of course not. Drying clothes in the room should not cause pneumonia in children at all. That is not true. That is just a um is what do you call it now, like a misinformation or wrong information. So no, drying clothes in the room does not cause pneumonia. Pneumonia is a bacterial infection. So it happens when children breathe in um, the germs pass through the blood to the lungs and causes infection. So that is how pneumonia happens. So the child drying clothes in your room, the child lying on the floor, all those things don't cause pneumonia at all. I don't know why and where people get this kind of information from, but that's not true at all. So you don't need to worry at all. But of course, we don't want you to be drying clothes in your room as much as possible. It's better to dry your clothes in the sun so that it will dry properly. But I know sometimes, I don't know whether it's an African thing, we want to kind of make people to know the right things, and we try to now put uh, uh some things on it to just make it fearful, but that is not true. Because it's still good to teach people the right thing, but that does not mean we should now start giving them that we should start giving them um, the wrong information and all that. So that's not true. So um, I hope that is clear for you. So feel free to dry your clothes anywhere you want, but it does not cause any form of pneumonia at all. So that is it. I hope that's helpful. Okay. Um, I'm just waiting for people to ask their questions. I don't have any question yet. So, okay, Loretta Moore, thank you for. I hope you get that. So while I'm waiting, let me just talk a little bit more about pneumonia, because pneumonia is one of the killer diseases of our children. There are like five of them: malaria, pneumonia, diarrhea. They are like the top. Then obviously newborn babies being born premature, having all sorts of complications that has to do with neonatal period. Those are things that those are the top causes of death in our children. So we really worry about pneumonia a lot. And pneumonia is when there is infection affecting the lungs. Our lungs are very crucial because that is our organ for breathing, for oxygen exchange. So if there is infection within the lungs, that oxygen exchange and all that is going to be affected, and then that means the children are at risk of death. Because children really needs oxygen. When we talk about dying in children, it's more of the breathing rather than the heart. In adults, it's cardiac arrest, whereas in children, it's more of respiratory. So that is why is anything that affects lungs and breathing, actually like in pneumonia, it's a major issue for us. So how do children get pneumonia? Most of the bacteria, most of the germs, they are in the air. Luckily, our body has immune system that protect our children. So when those germs come into the body, they kind of quickly get rid of them. But for any reason, if that child has low immunity, it can make it difficult for them to fight, and then if that infection can get to the lungs, and that can also cause them to have pneumonia. But sometimes the infection can actually spread through the blood. So if a child has infection in other places and there's that bacteria or that germ is in the blood, then it can also get to the lungs through the blood and settle there, and that can also lead to infection. So that's how children get pneumonia, either from breathing the germs in or from it getting to them in the blood. And the signs of pneumonia, the child will be breathing fast, the child will have fever, and they'll have difficulty with breathing. You start seeing them breathing fast, you start seeing all the efforts. Actually, when children are breathing, you shouldn't notice, you shouldn't even see it. They just breathe, we don't even take note of it. But once you start taking note that the child is breathing because they are breathing fast, or it is so loud, or they have fever, or they become drowsy, unconscious, that is very serious. And that is when we need to take the children to the hospital. We can easily treat pneumonia. Pneumonia is treatable, it's just antibiotics, and we have a lot of antibiotics we can use. The challenge we have with pneumonia is that people don't come to the hospital on time. Parents always say, oh, let's just wash this cough, or the parents are giving cough syrup, which is why we don't like giving cough syrup, especially in children who are under the age of 1. Because when you give cough syrup, you actually stop the cough is suppressed, and you think, oh, all is well. But all is not well in pneumonia. And then by the time the child breathes so fast, after a while they can't even breathe fast anymore, and then they can just pass. And also that is why once a child is having fever, difficulty breathing, don't just suppress the cough with cough syrup. The most important thing is to get to the underlying cause of that cough and to treat it. And if it's pneumonia, we need to treat with antibiotics. And when people come to hospital on time and we give the children antibiotics, they actually get well quickly. It is when people come to us very late and the oxygen supply in the blood has already dropped, that is when we tend to have issues. All right. Let's go on. I have a few questions that has come on Facebook. So finally, I think people can see me on Facebook. Jim Victoria said, good evening. My 3-month baby started popping greenish too. It's usually green, but has the egusi like something in it. She's been exclusively breastfed. I don't think it's starving because she sucks well, and her current weight is 7.4. Okay, the weight is good. So greenish stool is not always starvation stool. Obviously, you are a very knowledgeable mom, and you must have had us talk about starvation stool. Sometimes it could be from pigments of what you eat as a mother. Some things you eat as well, the color, some of these things are in the stool. They can pass from yourself, from your breast milk to the stool of the baby. So you may want to pay attention to what you are eating, because you say your baby is on breast milk only, because babies are also on formula fed can also have greenish stools. But sometimes some of the things we eat as parents, as a mother who is breastfeeding, it can pass through your breast milk to the baby, and it can affect the color of the stool. So I would just say pay attention to it as well. Since your baby is eating well, your baby's weight is good, I will not worry about the color of the stool. But I would say you should watch, or maybe you're also taking any medication, just pay attention to things you may be doing that may be affecting your stool. So sometimes maybe something you may not be something big deal diets that maybe you make a change in your diet. It may just be something you've taken, and even things like drugs and stuff like that, and it can have that effect on the color of your stool. I think you should just watch it for now and pay attention to it, since it's just something that just started, and see whether it will just resolve on its own. But if it persists, then that's when I will worry about it. Okay, Chinenye say, good evening. My 3 months old baby is weighing 8 kilo. Birth weight is 3.5. Yeah, so your baby is already 8 kilo. That baby is a little bit overweight. I will worry about that. That's too much rapid weight gain. I know that most of us want the children to gain weight, and we want that. Is your baby on exclusive breastfeeding? Okay, yeah, you're doing baby friendly, yes. So normally most babies should at 3 months, the baby should just more or less not baby should have had maybe about 3 kilos, about 1 kilo per month, and so 3 kilos. So if your baby is having has added like 5 kilos in just 3 months, that is a lot. So I hope you're not overfeeding the baby, because some of us sometimes we can overfeed babies. I hope you know that, because sometimes babies are maybe just like to eat a lot. They're always very hungry, not hungry, but they just like to suck a lot. And so babies also some of us, anytime baby cries, we think it means they want to eat, and so just feeding them. So sometimes you can overfeed, but sometimes it can also be a sign of medical conditions. So there are conditions where children can be gain weight excessively. There are genetic conditions, there are medical conditions that can lead to rapid weight gain in children. And if we get that, it's important for us to investigate. So I would say, number one, just keep breastfeeding, don't stop breastfeeding, but you shouldn't be breastfeeding your baby more than every 3 hours. So in other words, baby should not be sucking every hour, maybe once every 3 hours. So you don't have to breastfeed baby every time baby cries. That is not so I get these questions a lot, and I think a lot of mothers always assume once the baby cry, it means they are hungry. No, they are not always hungry when they cry. The baby cry for every reason. I think I actually shared the some of the graphics that WHO printed about this information. There are many reasons why babies cry. Baby cry, that's the only language they speak at that age. When they are happy, when they are sad, when they are tired, when they want to sleep, when they are wet, when they are hot, when they are cold. So baby can cry for several reasons. So we shouldn't always assume food. And some of you even notice that even when you feed the baby and baby is still vomiting, and unfortunately, well, not fortunately, fortunately, breastfeeding is a pleasurable thing for babies. So that sucking thing, they love sucking. So babies sometimes suck not because they are hungry, but because they just love to be close to you as a mother. They just want to be close to you, and they notice that the only way they get that warmth is when you are breastfeeding them. Sometimes they just want that emotional bonding. They just want emotional reassurance. So you can hold the baby, cuddle them without necessarily breastfeeding them because they may not necessarily be hungry. So just be careful that you are not overfeeding. I would say don't breastfeed your baby every hour, every time they cry. You can breastfeed them every 2-3 hours, and then if in between they are crying and you know this baby is full, you've already fed the baby, you can cuddle them, you can comfort them in other ways, but not necessarily using breast milk. And because we don't want babies to even as much as we want babies to gain weight, when they are overweight is also a problem. So overweight as underweight are all form of malnutrition. We want baby to have good weight that is appropriate for their age, because too much weight is a load on the hearts of that baby that the baby's heart is not able to handle. So we don't want baby getting weight excessively. So number two, it may also not just be your feeding. Like I said, it may be a baby may have some medical condition. The first sign is the fact that the children gain weight so rapidly, especially children who have like endocrine conditions and all that. So I may want you to if the baby keeps, so I'll just say keep an eye. If you can recheck the weight again at your next immunization, and if baby is still adding weight excessive, you can see a pediatrician, preferably a pediatric endocrinologist, because they can do all those blood tests and make sure there's nothing from endocrine perspective that or any of those conditions that causes excessive or rapid weight gain in this particular age group. But I think we can a bit assume from what you've told us that you are also feeding every time the baby cries. So it could be that baby is taking too much food, but it could also just be that there is no medical condition that we are missing. So that just I will just leave it at that. But we'll just keep an eye on that. It may be nothing, it may just be the small going on with the baby. Okay, somebody is posting a question on I think, I don't know whether it's in the group or in the Shukura Abu Bakari. Say good evening. Z3, your 3 weeks baby is coughing and doing as if he wants to vomit but cannot vomit. 3 weeks old baby, 3 weeks old baby who is coughing and doing as if they want to vomit but they cannot vomit. I would just say just make sure, number one, that you are not overfeeding the baby sometimes. And if the baby is coughing, then we need to address the cough itself. Is the baby having cough with fever or cough without fever? If it's just cough only, we always say for newborn babies, keep them away from people who are coughing, who have colds, who have catarrh. Let the baby be warm, okay? But if the baby is really still coughing seriously, I don't know for how long, you may want to see a doctor, just to make sure there's nothing else going on. Like we've talked about things like pneumonia and all that can also be an issue in those age group. Otherwise, it's nothing to worry about. So I will not worry about that. Again, this is one of those questions that people ask on they're in the wrong place, but I don't know why it's happened like that today, but it's fine. At least I'm happy I was able to say it. All right, Yimeki Ashombi. Say good evening, doc. Can I give my baby of 1 year, 10 months old multivitamins? You can give your baby multivitamins if you want to. It's not something we encourage because we rather your children eat the vitamins rather than you give them as drugs. So we recommend you give your children fruits and vegetables, balanced diet, and they're going to take all those vitamins from the food, because most of those drugs that we buy in the shops, apart from the parts that we want the children to have from them, there are other things they have to add to them to keep them stable, to keep them to last for maybe 2-3 years before they will expire. So there are lots of what we call additives that are added to those products. So in other words, your children, in addition to the vitamins, they're also taking so many other things that they don't need. Of course, the government tried to regulate the quantity of those things, but they are really unnecessary. So the best way for your children to get the vitamins is through natural food. Let them take their fruits, their oranges, their banana. Let them eat a lot of green leafy vegetables, carrots, all those things. Peas. They will get all their vitamins from them, and you don't necessarily need to also spend money buying drugs. But of course, if your child is the type that they don't like to eat, fussy food, they won't take their fruit and veggies, of course, it's still safer to give them as medication. But if you can feed them their vitamins, that is a better option. Your baby's birth weight is 2.4 kilos. Why was your baby 2.4? Was your baby born preterm? Because your baby is a bit on the weight, low birth weight. Usually we want babies to weigh at least 2.5 at birth. Unless baby was born preterm, then in which case we understand. The current weight is 9 kilos at 1 year, 10 months. 9 kilos is not too bad, but really for a child who is almost 2 years, is it 2 years old? Yeah. Your child should be weighing closer to 12 kilos now. That is the weight we want for a 2-year-old should weigh 12 kilos. A 1-year-old should weigh 10 kilos. So your baby is still weighing slightly below that of a 1-year-old. So just slightly underweight, not too bad, but a little bit, usually, which means that any little issue, the child can actually go completely into the underweight zone. So, but then your baby was born. Was your baby born preterm? Because I really need to. Because if your baby was born preterm, we need to correct the age of the child, and that will help us also in calculating the weight of the child, because your baby's birth weight was actually small as well. Baby was 2.4. Baby should weigh, if baby was born at 37 plus, baby should weigh at least 2.5 kilos. So I don't know whether you are still listening to me. You may keep, just let me know whether your baby was born preterm or was born term, so that I don't give you the wrong impression, because usually for babies that are born at preterm, we need to correct their age, and then we use that to calculate their the corrected age is what we use to compare what their weight or height or development should be. But your child should be moving closer to 12 kilos rather than staying at 9 kilos. So let the child eat better. Increase the quantity, the frequency of feeds for the child, and make sure you had protein, make sure there are variety, and the quantity is also increased as well. I hope that is helpful. Okay. Let me see Instagram. Okay, I don't think I have any more questions on Instagram, but Instagram, feel free to drop any question you have, and you may key if you are still listening. Just let me know if you got the answer, and if you can tell us the gestational age for your babies, that would be helpful as well. Okay. Okay, somebody is asking question in I don't know what happened today. People were seeing my video in the in the groups, but they're dropping their questions on that. So somebody is asking what causes jaundice. Abigail Adewumi, I hope you are listening. If you are listening, you are asking what causes jaundice. It's a very long question to answer, but shortly, in newborn, I hope you meant newborn babies, because we talk about jaundice in newborns, and we also talk about jaundice in adult, older children. But because you're asking in the super parents group, I'm going to assume you're asking about jaundice in newborn babies. Okay, so newborn babies can have jaundice normally, and there's what we call physiological jaundice. That's because when babies are in the mother's womb, they have a lot of red blood cells. They actually have more than what they need, because the reason why they need to have a lot of the red blood cells is because they need to steal the oxygen from their mother. So, and because they are trying to steal the oxygen from their mother, so they are not breathing by themselves, so they are not getting their own oxygen, so they are stealing it from the mother. So they are parasites, so they need to have a lot of red blood cells. But when babies are born, now they can breathe in their own oxygen, so they don't need as much red blood cells to get enough oxygen for themselves. So what normally happens is that those excessive red blood cells, those extra that they don't need, the body breaks them down, and the body, get rid of them. And the end products of those breakdown is what we call bilirubin. It's one of those products. That bilirubin is what makes the eyes look yellow, that we call jaundice. So that bilirubin, the body gets rid of it through the liver. But in newborn babies, their liver is also still, maturing. It's not yet fully matured. So the ability of the liver to quickly clear out those bilirubin is a little bit slow. So that is why newborn babies are prone to jaundice. 60% of newborn babies are going to have jaundice, okay? And 80% of preterm babies, because their own is even, all those things I said is worse with the preterm babies. So 80% of preterm babies are going to have jaundice. So jaundice is something children can have, newborn babies can have normally. However, in addition to this normal kind of jaundice, which I just explained, there could be things that could go wrong that will now make the breakdown of the red blood cells to be so much more than the usual that we expect, or that the liver may have problems that make it more difficult for the liver to get rid of those bilirubin, or the child is actually breaking down red blood cells too much, so, or there is infection. So there are many things that could go wrong. And so children cannot have what we call the pathological jaundice, the jaundice that is not just what we normally expect, something beyond normal. So, for example, if the blood group of the mother is O and the baby is A or B, then the mother's antibodies will see the baby's red blood cell as, strange, and there's a mix of babies and mother's blood, and that can cause so much breakdown of the red blood cells, and that can cause severe jaundice. We call it ABO incompatibility. Also, if a mother is rhesus negative, mother is rhesus negative and a baby is rhesus positive, the same thing can also happen. There will be a lot of breakdown of red blood cells, and that will make the jaundice worse. Okay. Also, prematurity we've talked about. Also, GCPD deficiency. There are certain deficiency enzymes, that if they are not there, the breakdown of red blood cells will be high. And also, when babies have infection, those bacteria, all those processes can also cause a lot of breakdown of red blood cells, and that can also cause jaundice. Also, if there's any problem with the liver, there's obstruction in the liver, the liver ducts, the ducts or the tracts in the liver that collect all those things. If it's blocked for one reason or the other, it can also lead to jaundice. Some people can have what we call biliary atresia and all that. So there are so many things that can lead to jaundice. So jaundice itself is not the problem. The problem is the treatment of the jaundice. So if we don't treat jaundice quickly and get rid of it, it can cause brain damage. And so that is why when children have jaundice, we need to quickly, because sometimes we don't know whether it's just the normal jaundice or it's going to be the severe jaundice. We need to check the blood. So if we check the blood and the level of jaundice is the low level one, and we think, oh, this could just be part of the normal jaundice, then we don't need to do anything about it. It will go by itself. We don't need to treat it. But there's a level of jaundice that is a bit higher, so we begin to, this is more than the normal kind of jaundice, it's more than physiological jaundice. So we need to investigate what is causing this jaundice. Is that the blood group of the mother and the baby didn't match? Is the baby having infection? Is there a block in the liver? Is there GCPD? We check for all those common stuff, and we treat it as well. And so sometimes we just do phototherapy. But if the jaundice is so high, phototherapy may not be enough. We may actually have to change the baby's blood so that the jaundice does not cause brain damage. Jaundice is always going to clear, which is one thing I always want mothers to know, because I see a lot of mothers, a lot of people will tell people on Facebook, oh, my baby had jaundice, we just gave purple water, we just gave ampiclox, and the jaundice went away. Jaundice will always clear. Whether you treat it or not, it's going to clear, because the baby's liver is going to mature, the baby's liver is going to deal with it, jaundice will clear. So that is not always the problem. The problem is not whether the jaundice is going to clear or not. The issue is before the jaundice clear, as it causes brain damage. What we're trying to save and protect in cases of jaundice is the damage to the baby's brain, because that damage to the baby's brain is irreversible. Once it has happened, it has happened. So we see a lot of mothers whose babies have now recovered from the jaundice, but the baby now has what we call bilirubin encephalopathy. They will have cerebral palsy. They are going to have severe disability for the rest of their life. So our goal, which is why I always tell mothers, jaundice is an emergency. Because I see a lot of mothers don't take jaundice seriously. We don't come to the hospital. We just say, oh, maybe it's because I'm wearing yellow clothes for the baby. No, jaundice is not caused by wearing yellow clothes. It's not caused by the light. Jaundice is in the baby, and we have to check first. And you cannot determine the level of jaundice by just looking. And it is not also, we don't treat jaundice by ampiclox. We don't treat jaundice by putting them in early morning sunlight. We need to know first the level of the jaundice. That level of jaundice is what will now help us to know whether this is a normal jaundice that we don't need to do anything about, or whether this is a jaundice that can cause brain damage that when we need to treat seriously and aggressively. So that is the most important thing. So we make sure that we treat jaundice quickly so that it doesn't cause brain damage. That is what we really have to. I hope that's helpful for the person who asked a question about jaundice in the group. Okay. Okay, I think I've answered the question about the stools and all that. I think I've answered that question. I think you've answered the question already. Sorry that people have to, it's like the Facebook have to take you through too many orders to get to the where to put your questions. Okay, somebody is asking that Mola Ebunlo Oyetola said, what could be the cause of high discharge in a 3-month-old baby and how to handle it? Thank you. High discharge. I would have loved to ask more questions about whether what is it yellow, is it whitish, because most of us have high discharge. You know, when you wake up in the morning, there's something coming out of your eyes and you bath and it's all gone. So that is normal and there's nothing you need to do about that. Sorry, I didn't put your questions showing on the screen. So there's nothing wrong with that kind of high discharge. However, if the eye discharge is coming out throughout and is yellowish, and then that is that's the one that may suggest that the child may have what we call conjunctivitis, like infection. Okay, if it is whitish, okay, Oyinda Mola is still listening and she told me it's whitish. If it is whitish, I would just say just wash it off. There's nothing, I won't worry about it. But if you clean it up during the day after giving the baby a bath and it is still coming out or is gumming the baby's eyes together, then I will worry about infection, and then those are the ones that we will treat with antibiotic eye drops. So what I would normally recommend first is that just cleaning, you just get your normal face towel, put it in a very clean water, and just remove the discharge. And then see, and then observe, does it keep coming back throughout the day or not? If it doesn't come again and it only happens maybe first thing in the morning, or when the baby is just waking up from sleep, I will not worry about that. One is normal. But if it is yellowish or it is coming out, copious, is a lot, and it's coming out throughout the day, in other words, you clean it now, in another 1 or 2 minutes it's back, or it is gumming the baby's eyes together, or the baby's eyes are red, or itchy, then that may suggest what we call bacterial conjunctivitis, and those are the ones that we will need to treat with antibiotic eye drops. So, and I'll recommend you see a pediatrician. Don't do self-medication. A lot of mothers in the days tend to go and just buy chlorphenicol eye drop and they keep putting it on baby's eyes. Chlorphenicol is a very terrible drug and it can cause some very serious side effects. So it's not something we tend to go for routinely. So it's better you see a doctor, because even though it's an eye drop, every antibiotic has to be prescribed by a doctor. There are implications to putting drugs on babies. So most of us don't take it that serious, but it is. So please see the doctor if the eye discharge persists. But otherwise, it's fine. Sometimes the eye discharge is also because most of us mothers, we put a lot of things, powder, oil on the baby's head, on the baby's face, and a little bit of it gets into their eyes, and the body is trying to get rid of it, and that's why sometimes the children have those eye distress. So if you are the type that you're always putting powder on the face, also be careful, because you could also be where it is coming from. We don't want to putting powder on baby's face, and they don't need that. Just keep their skin moisturized, and that also will take care of it. But I won't worry about a whitish discharge. I won't worry so much about it. Okay. We have just 5 minutes left. I'm just checking that people have not dropped their questions in the wrong place. I don't know what I clicked today, but seem like the link is not showing directly on the and I think today is also the World Pneumonia Day, so it's good that I talked a little bit about pneumonia. So I'm happy we've all learned that. The treatment for pneumonia is antibiotics, but the key is people coming to us on time. The key is, we pediatricians, we only care. It is God that heals. And for us to do our caring, we need you to come on time, because sometimes if you come too late, we cannot do much magic. So that's that. Okay, Yimeki, oh, you back. Okay, so yeah, if your baby was born at 37 weeks, I'm worried a bit that baby was a little bit small. I hope there were no health issues. Anyway, but it's not too bad. I'm not too worried about it. But if your baby was born at 37 weeks, your baby should weigh at least 2.5. So I'm just trying to say that your baby has always been small right from the beginning. And I hope your pediatricians, they did their investigations to know why, because that may also be the reason why baby is still a little bit small, on the small side, even till now. So if I have a baby that was born at 37 weeks and is weighing less than 2.5, I'm going to be investigating to know why, unless there were some issues you had as a mom in pregnancy, like maybe you had high blood pressure or anything like that, that could have explained to me why your baby was born a little bit small, or there were some other issues. Otherwise, we really need to investigate to know why a 37 weeker was weighing less than 2.5 kilos. It's very important for us to investigate that. And also, we need to be sure there are no other medical conditions that's making this baby not to had weights appropriately. If you are actually, if the baby is eating well, number one, the first thing, of course, we want to make sure the child is eating enough food, quantity and frequency and variety. But if the child is eating enough food, eating variety, protein, and all that, and the child is still not gaining weight, then we are trying to look for something that could be an explanation. So I'm not too worried about the baby's weight, but I just want to make sure that it doesn't get um worse. So we try to deal with it on time. If you have access to a pediatrician, I would just say maybe you should still one, so that they can give you some advice, or maybe also investigate the child for that. All right. My time is almost up, but I was just going to say that if you still have any questions after the live session, or if you are just coming and joining us live, thank you so much for coming. But please feel free to go to Ask the Pediatrician Facebook group, put your questions there. You can also send us your question on our website. You can also email us. Though I prefer it's easier if you just put it on Facebook, because we are always on Facebook and there are many of us on Facebook. But email may be a little bit of a lag. So, but we will still respond. So feel free to reach out to us, and we'll try and answer your questions, on time. Thank you so much, everyone. And oh, okay. You make it saying she's picky, she doesn't eat the kind of food. Okay, maybe that is why. Okay, so if it's a food issue, can you see a dietitian and they can guide you through all that? There's no formula for making babies to eat. I know mothers want, I wish I have the capacity to develop a particular drug that once you give your baby, they will start eating like hands, but we don't have that drug, and I'm sure we would have been making millions selling them, but we don't, unfortunately. So the way to get babies to eat is just to give them food. We have articles, we have videos on how to help our picky eaters, so you may just want to watch those articles. Some children are just picky eaters. That's just who they are. Luckily, some of them outgrow it by the time they're about 2 as well. But just keep encouraging her, giving her frequently. Keep patience and persistence is the key to the game. But if you need more professional support, you can say a dietitian. They also have some other additional magic that they can play around with picky eaters. So they are your best choice. So if it's food issue, we can always deal with that. All right. So thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate. And for those on Facebook, I'm sorry if the link today was in the wrong place, but I'm happy some of you found your way here still. But thank you so much, and have a wonderful evening. And I will see you again next week, God willing. Till then, feel free to always post your question on our Facebook. My team and our moderators, our professionals, they're always there 24/7 to answer your questions. So have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and it's bye. Bye bye from me.